Hello. Seems like this is working. Hi Timo. So, yeah, I think everyone can hear me. I just heard myself before I muted Twitch. Just gonna update my toolchain on this computer that I haven't used in a while. And then I'll start trying to implement query string deserialization for query strings with repeated fields. So Twitch isn't telling me who is in the chat actually. We'll see if a reload helps with that. Oh, also before I get any crashes in the middle of the stream, I'll just hope that it doesn't crash now and hide the OBS window, so I'm pretty sure I won't be crashing it this time now, because I can't accidentally switch to the OBS window, which is what triggered the crash before, the multiple crashes. Okay, so Twitch is still not being nice, but it says two people are watching, of which one is probably myself. Oh wait, Devin is also here. Not sure what you're saying, Devin. Like, you also get OBS crashes? Are you also sometimes streaming stuff? I think adding music to the stream would complicate things a bit. In particular, I would have to make OBS capture my output, and that's probably gonna make it crash again, so I prefer not to do that for now. Maybe I'll do that in one of the coming streams, but I'm not even sure what kind of music I would add, so I think, yeah, you'll have to do that locally this time, at least. So I haven't actually looked at this code at all yet, at the deserialization code of 30 URL encoded, but it seems like it's like only about 300 lines of code, so let's see. Okay, so we have an inner deserializer, a map deserializer. Is that part of 30? Yeah, okay. and that's instantiated from, oh, okay, interesting. I wonder whether that can actually be kept. If not, that's gonna be somewhat of a big rewrite, I guess. So let's first check with the 30 docs whether this thing might be able to do what we want. Well, that's not a lot of documentation. Trade implementations, deserializer. So yeah, I know Timo and Devin already know what I'm trying to do. For the rest of you, should I actually explain more about that, or is it clear to everyone? The crate I'm working on is Ruma 30, which contains a fork of 30 URL encoded under the URL encoded directory. Well, Devin had made an attempt at supporting query strings that have like the same value multiple times, like this, like in a query string, but that actually broke some stuff in deserialization. The issue you were encountering with field order, where it seemed like it then matched up the fields by the order in which they were declared rather than by their names. So I reverted everything, which actually caused issues for Polya in the Matrix Rust SDK. But I fixed those by implementing the serialization once again. And yeah, now deserialization has to be done still. Like currently we have a few ignored tests, like trying to trying to deserialize a query string containing the same, well, it's not really a query string containing the same key multiple times, but rather trying to deserialize a query string into a struct where one of the fields is a vector or any other kind of list sequence type will currently fail. Yeah, it says invalid type string expected a sequence. I'm pretty sure there's no way to pass a sequence here using the regular 30 URL encoded logic that we still have in here, and we want to fix that. So maybe implementing a deserializer has some more interesting things that can help with the implementation. I guess one of the first things I should do before working on the actual implementation is adding a few more tests. Because previously, like the previous iteration of this didn't actually fail any tests because they're all written with the fields being ordered basically. So, well, actually, they're not even written against struct deserialization, it seems. Yeah, so test. Deserialize unit. And I think this is where the new tests, well, maybe not. Maybe this is not where the new tests start. What does this say? Okay, that's what Devin added. This one too? Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I'm gonna start here. With a struct. Params. Whoops. Yeah, this seems okay. I'm just gonna rename it, and I don't think, well, partial EQ is probably useful, and oh yeah, right, you need debug for the assert macro to work. So I'm just gonna rename that. I'm not sure whether we need new struct num list. I'm gonna remove, well, no, I'm gonna move most of these like a bit further down. And say deserialize struct. So our expected expected parameters are gonna look the same as before. Seems good. And now we'll add another assertion that I wonder, do we need this? I don't think we do. That does the same thing, but with the fields reversed, or well, query arguments rather. And C option, yeah, there's no other way to specify that C isn't present. Yeah, this should be good. Oh, okay, so can this thing implement copy? No, it can't. Do I want to update that? I wonder, would this, I think it should work. Should be possible to borrow from the query string. So let's see. And now we should be able to implement copy, and this should work. Nice. It did run that test, right? I haven't set it to ignore. Okay. And I guess while I'm at it, I'll just... Does the same thing work here? I don't know why it shouldn't. It doesn't. Oh, because, yeah. Because new struct declares these to be strings. And I wonder whether this actually works at all. Okay, it compiles now. Nice. Yeah, do the same thing here. Like that. Although, yeah, the order of the assertion is usually the other way around, so I'll do that here as well. I think the trailing comma is not an issue for assert EQ, but it's not done elsewhere, so god damn it. This shouldn't be necessary. Oh, there's a few of those. use expected token. Oh, missing comma. Oh, I was wondering, shouldn't it be... Okay, so this one still uses own strings. Shouldn't Clippy now complain? Yeah. This is the error message I was expecting. Okay, tests still work. Let's see whether the OK is always on the right side of the assert equals and there's no more unwraps. Looks good. Okay, so back to 30 documentation. So I think I've read this part of the docs before. I'm not entirely sure, so yeah, this is a bit much. I'm guessing, yeah, map deserializer is never used here. Maybe looking at its source is going to be helpful to figuring out whether we can continue to use it here. It implements map access, whatever. Huh, is that, could that be useful? Probably not. So what methods are implemented right now? Deserialize any map sequence unit. Where's that part iterator implemented? It's here. So URL encoded parse comes from probably another crate. Yeah. Comes from the URL crate. URL form encode, form URL encoded parse? No. Yeah, it is that. The return type of parse. Well, not very clear. Oh, I should close that. Borrow mute doesn't implement any 30 traits, but it implements iterator. And yeah, okay, it gives us key value pairs of the arguments in the query string. I wonder how much work it would be to implement the deserializer based directly on that iterator rather than the than the map access, the map deserializer. So what's part? It's just a new type around cow. Why though? Oh, okay, because the individual parts need to implement into deserializer, maybe? Where's this macro used? Somewhere down below. Okay, I probably should be able to ignore this part of the code. That's used as, that's just a part of the deserializer implementation for part. So yeah, I think it should be possible to basically inline what map deserializer does, assuming that we can't use it directly, which I'm still not entirely sure about. Surdy really isn't that straightforward. So, deserialize map. I've seen this one before, but I don't know off the top of my head what exactly it does. So that's implemented? Yeah. Why is that implemented for... Why is anything other than deserialize any implemented for a self-describing format, I wonder? I will probably never find out. Okay, Devin says on Matrix that I should be able to use map deserializer directly as long as I give it that iterator. Well, that's what the code already does right now, but I wonder how will I be able... Well, maybe I can first find out where currently the tests are hitting the dead end. That did work quite well when writing the deserialization, the serialization code. So let's stop ignoring this test. Test. Okay. Invalid type string expected a sequence. Well, maybe the backtrace. Well, no, the backtrace can't really say anything interesting. Huh. I would have to know where the error is produced. Maybe the best thing to do here is actually use a debugger. Yeah, shouldn't. Huh. I thought the Rust Analyzer plugin had a way to like configure all of this automatically. debug. Start without debugging. No. It's probably not gonna work. It just does nothing. Do I even have the... Nope. I think I'll need code LLDB. So, does this one have... It says LLDB here. Not entirely sure whether... Oh, debug cargo tests. Perfect. Okay, cargo program. Test no run lib. It complains multiple, huh? Okay. That's probably gonna be a hard error once I actually try to launch it. Process exited. Oh, yeah. I probably need a... Where's the output though? Probably need a breakpoint. Let's see. Skip that and also set all of the tests passed. But what about this one? Ah, I can debug test here. Beautiful. So let's step into that. Step into that. Sure. Okay, maybe we need another breakpoint, although I don't really know where it should go, so well, that's easy. Just constructs that type, but probably to be expected. Oh wow. That code could probably use a comment or at least a new line somewhere, but whatever. Okay, so we're creating the deserializer. This shouldn't be that interesting. So if you step out and in again, alright, that's kind of a problem. Let me think. How do we... I guess I can just add breakpoints to all of these, all of the deserializer functions. Maybe that gets us somewhere. Like one of these should be called next. Okay, it's deserialize any. Which calls self.deserialize map. Oh, okay. So it just goes to there. So this one is quite uninteresting. Which again calls visit map. Which I don't... oh, visited it, visit map. Let's see whether we can... Nope. Oh, and that was it already. Am I seeing this? Left value... Huh. Why does it show me both OK and error? Well, maybe we just need more breakpoints. Self.inner is the part iterator. So I guess we already know visit sequence and visit and deserialize unit are never called, although deserialize unit really would have been weird to see called. So okay, what happens here? That looks good. So another deserialize any, deserialize option. Yeah, shouldn't be that interesting. I wonder whether any of these are actually called, so I'm gonna add one here. I could imagine none of them ever getting called, but I'm not too sure. Okay, so we don't really need this breakpoint anymore. We see visit map getting called, and we see a panic. What the hell? Why is there a panic? Deserialize new struct, begin panic. Oh, yeah, I think that's just what the assertion does. Okay, so that confirms my theory, I guess. Am I missing something? Is this called? This one is gonna be called probably. And forward to parsed value. What is this used for? Well, not sequence, but sequences do have their own. Nope. Where's the deserialized sequence implementation for part? Is there one? It's in forward to any? Didn't see it there. Oh yeah, right down below. Okay, so you would kind of expect this branch to be taken. Ah, okay, so that might be where that error message is coming from. Since the breakpoint doesn't seem to get triggered, I can just add a debug here, test. And it says, yep, that's called 2 times. Okay. So once it succeeds, I would expect that to be the... Oh yeah, let's see, what does the test do exactly? It's just the list. Let me guess that if I put a equals b before here, which I think is going to be ignored, then that is going to be called 2 more times for those key and value. Yep. Can I actually, yeah, I get value here, value there. I should be able to show the value. Like this. AB list hello, and then it breaks because we call visit string, but the deserialize implementation wants a sequence. I wonder why it is owned. Why are we deserializing an owned value here? We're always deserializing an owned value. maybe the whole cow thing doesn't work as the authors of 30 URL encoded actually expected, but that's not something we need to be concerned about right now. Like, even if it doesn't work, leaving it in won't be such a big problem. Yeah, this visit string or visit borrowed stir is not necessarily what we want. So how do the any implementations usually work? Or how, wait, yeah, this is any getting called, and self.0 for part is just the string, yeah, sure. So how do we tell the visitor that we have a value and we don't care whether it's the only value or whether it's gonna be just added to a list of values? Is that something that's possible? The input contains a boolean. Oh, interesting. Contains a string. Contains a string that lives at least as long as the deserializer. Lifetime is ephemeral and may be destroyed if this method returns. Oh yeah, I think I get it. This sounds like something's wrong though. Huh. Maybe not. Let's think about this. So actually, given that the syntax a equals b in our case isn't clear on whether a in the resulting Rust structure is a sequence or a single value, that pretty much means that our format no longer is self-describing, which is annoying and might mean there's some bigger refactoring to do. But I guess that's why deserialize any doesn't work. So how do we make sure that's not what is called? Like, the format is not self-describing, but it's also not strict enough that the deserialize implementation could know which field is going to be, which field has to be deserialized next. That is awkward. I think, okay, yeah, I think the reason deserialize any is called is probably because one of these forward things, because the generated deserializer implementations do tell the deserializer what to do next. It may just ignore that. At least I think that's roughly how it works. So yeah, actually, how do these things get matched up? How does the correct key become the correct field? So that can't be part of the part deserializer implementation, because that is only concerned with single values. It's probably, yeah, the part iterator doesn't do much more. So it has to be this. Yeah, it has to be the map deserializer. I don't expect this to work with map deserializer. But reading its code with a bit more understanding of what's going on could help. So it should have a deserialize implementation. Let me look at that. Oh, wait, what? Oh, this is the wrong docs. Other way around, map deserializer. 30 value map deserializer, okay, whatever. Oh, ouch. This is actually an internal, well, a non-documented trait. One more reason not to rely on this type. But here's the deserializer implementation. Visit map makes some sense. The input contains a key value map. Well, it's not that easy. Default implementation fails with a type error. That's not that interesting. I wonder if there's some hints on the 30 URL encoded issue. I think there's at least one that asked for support for something like this. And also there is SurDayQS, I think it's called, that implements something very similar, just with, oh, yeah, it implements something very similar, but different in a very critical point, in that its syntax is self-describing. Like, it supports only query strings where it's clear from the parameter, from the argument name, whether it is a sequence or just a single key. Wow, that's really annoying how this kind of clashes with what 30 expects. Yeah, should be one of the closed issues, although at this point I'm not very confident that there's going to be anything interesting in there. Oh, this is completely different. There's a bunch of issues about this, but they all mention the more common syntax using square brackets to denote that the argument is an array. Oh, okay, so somebody else asked about this. Handling sequences mean traversing the entire string to get all the pairs with the same key, and only then you can deserialize that to a vec. Yeah, I guess SERDI expects sequences to be not segmented around the input, but like value after value, and yeah, that's actually exactly what exactly the case Knox pointed out in this comment. Like, there could be a different parameter in between. Matrix didn't choose a very nice format for these arguments. Handling sequences, blah blah blah. This is true. The performance of QS is significantly worse due to this. And this confirms once again that SERDI QS doesn't allow the syntax that we want. Non-strict mode, huh. Oh wait, was the question actually, yeah, it was about percent encoded brackets, not about leaving off the brackets. So I go open API. So I wonder, I think the solution here, the only one I can come up with, is to first deserialize the whole query string into some form of other format that can be that's not self-describing, but where the deserialize implementation can then drive, not parsing, but, well, yeah, deserialization. So map deserializer, is that still useful? Yeah, that's still gonna be, ooh. It's probably not gonna be useful. Like, we need the deserialize implementation of whatever type we're deserializing to tell us which field it wants next and what kind of field that is, and then we can give it the values, like based on whether the deserialize implementation tells us this and that field that it wants to get access to is a list or it's not a list. So the important bit is gonna be deserialize map. And we need our own custom map access type, I think. Like, I don't see how the iterator approach would work here. What does it take to implement map access? Provides a visitor access to each entry of a map in the input. Example data format. Probably not what we want. Oh, that's the same, implementing a deserializer page as before. Yeah. Map access. What does it do? Next key seed. Oh, so it's not the deserialize implementation that that sets or that dictates the order of keys, but we still need to give it all of the values for one key in one go, which isn't possible with the current iterator setup. Like, we still probably need an iterator? Ooh. Interesting. Yeah. So map deserializer probably continues to be of use. We just kind of need to reorder and rewrite the input. So what do we need here? Not the current part iterator. We can continue borrowing from the input string, but we do need some heap allocation as well. Like, the actual values can continue to be references. Let me write this down. So what we want is an iterator over, given the input A equals B and C equals D and A equals also C, something like that, should be turned into an iterator that first gives us, well, whether A or C comes first doesn't matter, but it should give us A, B, C. Well, really, whatever. And next, C, D, like this. And this isn't gonna be like necessarily a sequence type. Whatever is returned here is gonna contain references to the string B and C. But to continue supporting the single element case, like whatever this type is, this wrapper type, it should support deserializing single elements if the deserialize implementation says, hey, I want a string, or hey, I want a number, or an optional whatever. But it should also support, like, if the deserializer says, hey, I want a sequence, it should work for A being a sequence or for C being a sequence. Like, it has to work for foo, where A is a backup string and C is a backup string. It also has to work for struct var, where A is a backup string and C is just a string. I don't think it has to work for anything else. Like it should probably be an error for this input to be passed to a struct that only expects a single value for A. But yeah, so much about that. Just gonna leave that there for the moment. I hope everyone can follow on the stream. If you can't, I should be able to read all of the chat. It gets disconnected now and then, but always only for a short time. So feel free to ask questions if anything is unclear to you. This existing thing returns iterator. We can just group by that iterator, I would say. Not dict.cc docs.rs. I think itertools has some grouping functions. Group by. What does that do? Consecutive elements that map to the same key are assigned to the same group. Well, I don't want just consecutive elements. I need for every key, I need a list of values. I think to optimize for the common case of only one value for each key, it would be very useful to have a specialized, what's it called? The crate that does inline representation for vectors under a certain size. Is it small vec? Collection alloc to small vec. Store a certain number of elements inline and fall back to heap for larger allocations. Yeah. Except I only want to do the inline path in case of a single element. Yeah, I think this is overkill. I'm just gonna roll a very basic enum myself, since it's not gonna be used as part of the public API either. And so we have part iterator. Should it be renamed now? I think it should. So it's really more of a, well, it's still parts, but they are now grouped. Maybe entry. And that's probably just gonna be a new a type def from now on. If we don't need this anymore, it's gonna be something like type entry iterator let's say B-tree map, which I think is better for like few keys, which is also going to be the usual case here. Map sorted by its keys, well, that's not that important. Get a range of entries on demand. I'm not sure, I don't think so. Interested in what the smallest or largest? Nope. Nope. Well, only hash map has expected cost. Linear scan of VAC of tuples with n smaller 15 is generally faster than a hash map with zip hash 20. Yeah. Let's use B-tree map. And this one has an into iterator implementation with the into iter type being std collections B-tree map iter mud. And the key type, do we need this part thing? Yeah, I think we do. So the key type is going to be part, like before, and the value type is going to be val or vec of part. Yep, definitely a good idea to have this as a type alias and not just using it directly. So this doesn't work anymore, that's expected. So we need some helper function. It could just be done right here, but I think having it separately would be good. We want to build this B tree map and then turn it into an iterator. Let's name it group entries parse dot into iterator iter. So this should be fine. Entries. Everything has a DE lifetime. Maybe I should just continue with that. Yeah, whatever. It's only used for deserialization, nothing else. Let's stick with it. URL encoded parse. And it returns a B tree map of part val or vec part. One more closing angle bracket. Mismatch types. Expected something. Oh wait, itermat. Did I look up the wrong thing? Into iterator for, oh yeah. Not the right one, but I can probably just copy what the error message says and use into iter instead. Which should mean that this lifetime goes away. That makes a lot of sense. And now these don't work anymore. Yeah. I think the val or vec type needs 1 or 2 more trait implementations. Val or vec into deserializer is not satisfied. Yeah, that's fine. That's gonna be fixed later. Or should I fix that before I go on to the group entries function? That one should be pretty straightforward actually, I think. Yeah, this already iterates. We don't need anything like this. I mean, unless we want to do the part wrapping after we construct the B-tree map. But I don't think there's like particular there's anything in particular that would make that better over doing it at construction. In fact, it's shorter to type than cow with a DE lifetime of stir. Okay. So we need into deserializer Yeah, this is actually also going to be a bit special, which makes it even more helpful that it's defined here and we're not using like small vec or something. I think it can be like these traits can be implemented directly on this type. Should make sense. Oh, do we want to implement deserializer or deserialize for it? Or into deserializer? No, we don't want into deserializer, I think. We would want that if we didn't have like this special handling that a list of one can be used for both a vec and a single value. But since we do want that, we need a custom deserializer implementation for this. I mean, we don't have to make this generic. It could just be that it always contains a part, but it also shouldn't be any more complicated to do it like this, I think. So I'll continue with that for now. Type error equals error. That sounds good. That is which error type? This one. Doc inline. I won't need that in the submodule. Surday D value error. Wait, what? Oh, okay. Interesting. I'm not too sure about that, but let's see. It's probably gonna be correct. So what, yeah, I think we need something similar to the part implementation. I'm just gonna copy paste that for now. Oh, I wonder how would I do code sharing between these two? Maybe it's not gonna be that much of an issue, but I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, before I copy that, don't need the debugs anymore. Oh, now there's also value enum access. Yeah, whatever. I just want a solution for now, not the perfect solution. The factoring can be done later. This is not correct right now, but whatever. So sequence was down here. This should work, I think. Sequence. Huh. seek access. I'll look into that in a second. Just gonna assume that part is eventually gonna implement that. Wait, no, we do have a, we don't have cow directly, we have a, yeah, maybe this is gonna be easier if it's not generic. Well, I'm not gonna give up on that just yet. Where T is a deserializer. And then, ooh, ouch. We don't need all of this because we're gonna forward that to value. Val deserialize any. I think that should be correct. What's the issue? Oh, yeah. I guess it's not finding forward past value, and so that doesn't work. Do I do it like that? How do I use the macro? I think if the macro rules is just before, simply declared before the module declaration, it would just work. But maybe the best way to enable that is to add a macros module. Do I need to export? I don't think so. What's the issue now? Self.inner. The trait bound valavec part is not satisfied. Well, probably because this still doesn't work. Okay, Devin wrote something in the matrix chat. Won't part take care of all the deserializing? Well, kind of, yeah. That's why I am forwarding to it here. I need to somewhere in this deserializer implementation, probably in deserialize any, I will need to special case the vector, the value thing to support deserializing sequences if that's what the deserialized type wants. Although now that I'm thinking about it, it should, I think it has to be a separate deserialized seek implementation that takes care of that. And everything else can just forward to deserialize any, maybe? Huh. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So I won't need this macro, I don't need a separate macros module, and I can restore the macro here. So everything that is in forward to, where is it? Forward to forward past value is going to be added to forward to deserialize any here. You to here. Like this. Not all trade items implemented. Deserialize bool, I8, everything. I think this is just because forward to deserialize any is not imported. It's probably at the crate root, right? Still not working. Yeah, missing commas. No commas needed. Wait, what's the issue here? Duplicate definitions with, yeah. I do want a separate sequence implementation. I wonder if there's map access, is there a sequence access or something like that? Yeah, there is. So I probably just need an iterator once again. Where's the new function? Is there a new function? Wait, that's a trait. Yeah, wrong one. Where's the map? Oh, it's in value. There's the map deserializer and there's a seek deserializer. And it just wants an iterator. I think I can use that. So that would mean I need an iterator type that either just gives me one element or gives me the elements of the vector. To do add into iterator for, I need an iterator, right? Not an into iterator. Yeah. Still. Not all trade items implemented. Deserialize option. I wonder. It seems safest to add it to the list as well. Oh wait, bytes, byte buff. Are these usually, like, what do the docs say? Are these usually sorted by alphabet, by something else? Well, it's just some random collection. Looks good though. And the only one I need to take out is seek. Perfect. Okay, what's the issue here? Expected. Oh yeah, okay. That should be easy. Error equals error. And if we have a vector, we just always self.deserialize. Where is it? Sequence visitor. Should be to do actually. We don't need cow anymore. Okay, nice. So this complains that into deserializer is not satisfied for val or vec of that. Into deserializer should be like all of the into traits implemented for like the base trait, right? Blah 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 for, where's the generic implementation? Map deserializer, seek deserializer, string deserializer. Is there not a generic implementation for unit? Like any deserializer also implements into deserializer? Weird. But maybe we need it anyway. Required map access for map deserializer. I need to see this on the command line. Required because of the requirements on map access. Map access for map deserializer. This trait. Item as pair first into deserializer, second into deserializer. So first in this case is part. Alright. So part also implements into deserializer. Yeah. And it just returns self. Okay, I guess that's the same thing I have to do for val or vec then. Oh, yeah, like this. And what's the issue now? T deserializer is not satisfied. Yep. Should it call into deserialize on the inner one? I don't care. It's gonna work like this for... Do I need the error thingy? Maybe not. Deserialize itself. Type mismatch. Yeah, I do need it. Okay. Use of moved value self. I understand, yeah. What's the issue here? Variant is never constructed. Oh, that's gonna be fixed soon. Okay, but it type checks now. We just have a to do here and an unimplemented that should also be to do here. So let's see. I should hit that group thing, the group group to do in this test. What does it say? Panicked, add not implemented yet, group entries. It says that quite a few. Oh, of course, yeah, it says it probably for every test that's not ignored. Yeah, because we now eagerly deserialize, and for that to work, we first have to call group entries. Well, we want to eagerly deserialize. But I think after this to-do is fixed, the other to-do should only be hit for that one test. Okay, so let result as new B-tree map, and in the end we return it for kv in parse res dot there's no get or insert. That's I think I need the entry API, but I'll make sure. Get key value, get mute to la, maybe borrowed, but yeah, this only works if the key is already there. Append clear contains. Where's the? Does B-tree map not have? Oh yeah, it does. Here's the entry function. Dot entry k. Except we need entry part k. Which probably means that part has to implement a partial EQ at the very least. No bounds. Wait, what? Are these implied? That's not a thing yet, right? Ah, here comes the bound or insert with key and modify yeah, I'm pretty sure we're gonna need ord, which shouldn't be a problem for Cowster. Doesn't work. Can't compare part with part. Partial EQ not implemented. Okay. I don't like the order of that. Order like that. Doesn't work still. EQ is not implemented. Okay. I know what those 6 implementations are. There's like structurally partial EQ or something like that. Because of not because of const generics, but because of something about consts. Small detour into unstable traits in the standard library for constant use in pattern matches. Structural match RFC and issue something. Yeah, exactly. This used to be like a thing the compiler tracked internally via attributes. and then they added traits for it for some reason I don't know the details on, but yeah, last year that was a bit messy, and it has partially been cleaned up now, like the implementation for checking whether something is allowed to be used in patterns, like a type is allowed to be used in patterns, and currently the thing you have to do for that to work is derive partially Q rather than implementing it manually. Although I think you can still, like on nightly, you could implement this manually, probably. But yeah, fun things happen when you allow other things to be used in patterns, probably miscompilations. Okay, so mismatch types. So, or insert with. This is interesting. We've got a value that's also a cow. We can't use either of those functions, I think, because or insert would consume the cow, and or insert with would also, even though it kind of seems like it shouldn't, because it would have to be moved into the closure, and then we couldn't use it if the closure doesn't run because the compiler can't see that. So I think we just match on the entry is the correct solution. Which means btree map entry. Let's do a local import for that. Maybe even the variance vacant occupied. Okay, if we have this entry in the map, or we don't yet have this entry in the map, then key, and we say insert, right? Insert the value. v.insert part v. Oh, damn it, that doesn't work. So let's give these a slightly longer names, the ones that have a slightly larger scope, and then it's gonna work. Occupied O. So how do we access that? Whoops. Vacant entry, occupied entry. Remove, get mute. Sounds good. And then, yeah, Vec has a push method. I think just mirroring that name should be good. Yeah, that's not implemented yet, but that's fine. And now it's complaining. Expected btree map, blah blah blah, found also part. It can't even know that. Just guessing. The compiler's just guessing my types. Oh, although, yeah, it can't. Oh no, it is right. It is right. It's not a guess. this needs to be val or vec val part. And now the types do match up. I just need to implement the push method. I wonder, do I need the clone implementation? Probably not. In fact, I should make sure never to clone these. Do these have the same visibilities? I mean, it's kind of pointless given the type is only... Yeah, it's a private module anyway. Just put pub on there for easier readability by someone who doesn't know the intricacies of visibility in Rust. Don't want to confuse anybody. Mute self and a value of type T. I think vectors push also doesn't return anything. Does it? Nope. Okay, now this code is going to look a bit funny because if we already got a value in there, we need to move it. And now I'm wondering, is there a safe way of doing that? Not sure. Let's see what the compiler says about start self equals self vec let's call this new val and the other case is gonna be pretty simple. Dot push new val. Yeah, that's not gonna work, huh? Mismatch type parameter. Yeah, because we need to replace that. Oh, I remember. When did I implement something like this before? I know I did. So there's two ways of doing this. One is, oh wait, it was just a Reddit post, I think. But the one way of doing this is use unsafe. The other way is replacing the T with some sentinel value. For example, I could require T to implement default, which would probably be sensible here. What's the default for cow? I mean, we could override that for part, but just curious, does it have? It probably has a default implementation. And the default is owned. Okay. I mean, an owned string that's default constructed still doesn't allocate, so that shouldn't be much of a problem. Though I wonder whether that's like the optimal thing to do here. I kind of want to do the unsafe one. Let me think how it worked. With something like this, so I need to pre-allocate because I don't want to have panics I need to make sure no panics happen in the unsafe code, like while values are in an invalid state. So this is the only thing that can panic, the allocation of the vector. And now do I use pointer read and pointer write? I do think so. I have mutable reference. I want to move what's behind it actually. Yeah, this should be the correct one. Maybe that's a that would be a good opportunity to try out Miri, the Rust, what's it called, the Mir interpreter that can check for unsoundness in this kind of unsafe code, that like unsafe code that doesn't interact with C libraries like FFI, anything like that. I've never used it before. Okay, so pointer read val. Vec.push val. I don't need a, do I need a pointer write in that case? Maybe not. Oh yeah, I do. I think I might need it to replace self. I'm very uncertain. Self vec. Let's see whether this passes the borrow checker. It seems like it does. Who knows whether that's correct. Like, I'm definitely not gonna just use it like that. I'm gonna think about it again, but what's the issue here? No method push found for val or vec in the current scope. Ah, right, because I added the default thing, which I don't actually need with when going with the unsafe solution. And now match arms have incompatible types. Also insert returns, wait, no. Did I make push return something? No. Is it lying about insert? Is insert actually returning something? Entry API, entry, occupied entry, no. Vacant entry, insert. Yeah, it's returning a mutable reference to the inserted thing. Why are you lying to me, Rust Analyzer? I guess this could also be like a separate block, just to have it on a new line. What's the next complaint? Cannot borrow res as mutable as it is not declared as mutable. Cannot borrow O as mutable. Okay, that type checks. And same issue here, just needs to be declared mutable. The visitor isn't being used, I don't care. So about this. Oh, I remember now. Oh, wait a second. Hello. Okay, I'm back. Probably gonna end the stream. No, not probably. Well, I might make just a longer pause in 20 minutes, but gonna continue for now. So what I was about to say is that the unsafe method does require a pointer read as well, pointer write as well, and that is here because with this assigning to self, the previous variant of val is going to be dropped, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I think that makes sense. Is going to be dropped, which means the drop code for t is gonna be run, but that value actually still exists in that vector, so that vector would then contain a dropped value, which would not be good at all. So I think, wait, how does this work? I think there's a write method as well, so I'm not sure. Reference read? What's this? Pull some bytes from this source. The primitive reference type has a read method. It's part of part of the read trait. Okay. So let's see what primitive pointers have as methods. Offset, align. I think there's read and there's write. Why is read there twice? For const and mute pointers. So let's use the methods. Those kind of look nicer, I guess. Yeah, it's the same thing, but then with the methods I don't actually need to import anything. So val as star mute const, does it matter? I would love to know. Mute kind of seems a bit safer. Star mute whatever dot read doesn't work. The type of this value must be known. Oh, okay, so apparently that's not obvious. Like value is obviously of reference to t, so that can only be made into a t pointer, right? Either way, val.write self. Is that how it works? Nope, that's not correct. Yeah. Self as mute self dot run. Maybe that's not nicer than the previous version with pointer colon self. Okay. Failures. Deserial. That's too many failures for my liking. Deserialize option panicked with at assertion failed. Invalid type string expected option. Okay. That sounds very much like something here is not working. I'm guessing I have to forward the methods that exist on where is it? I do have to forward all of these methods as well as option enum new type struct. I have to forward those to part rather than to any, and then to part any, deserialize any. I wonder, why is Charster... I'm not gonna think about that too much right now. So it should look very similar to this. I'm gonna declare another macro. What does it look like here? Wait, what the hell? We can do better than that. Let's do that separately. Like, we don't need any of this. We can just do the same thing as forward to deserialize any, really. And I think it's not really more readable by being one thing per line. Like, okay, so we don't want this method stuff. Just want space separated things. Expected identifier found dollar. Yeah, dollar method. So I think there's a concat or concat ident. Yeah, that's what I want. This is a nightly only experimental API. Seriously? Wait, so I can only concatenate into strings? Well, so much about that. Wait. Don't undo that much. Yeah, like this. Wait, that's still... No, there's no changes. And slash pop. So, there's a comment on Twitch. As for that push method, doesn't really make sense the way you're doing it. If you have a single value, you'd want to just swap the variance out. Taking the single value and prepending into a new value with the new value, so it should be unreachable. I'm not sure what you mean. I am swapping the variance. I'm taking the one existing value, like this one. Well, like maybe I could use clearer variable names here. Something like this. I'm taking the existing value out of the val variant, adding that as the first element of the new vector that is gonna live in the vec variant, adding the argument of the push method as the second element of the vector. Like, none of this can panic because I pre-allocated, and then I'm swapping the methods, the variants. Setting self to the vec variant. So I'm not sure what you mean. I should definitely add a safety comment here though. So that should definitely be noted. Yeah, that could be expanded. I'm just not entirely sure what to write there right now. I might expand on that later and also run Miri. Like if any of that code is unreachable, I will probably notice when tests fail, but feel free to expand on what you mean. So yeah, these things type error by the default is what the 30 documentation said. Let's see what that means in practice. No source links for any provided methods. Still no source links. Wait, was it not here? Was it map deserializer that did something like this? Or the map access trait? So, comment in chat says, well, what I'm suggesting is that it can be done without unsafe when using an inner option. Well, yeah, that's correct. But that needs more case tracking, and really val or vec logically shouldn't ever contain no value. I could also do the same thing with requiring T to implement default and swapping it for the default value rather than for none. Both of those wouldn't require unsafe, but aren't exactly optimal. Well, in our case, I added T, but really it's a private type and it can only ever be part. And we could implement default for that without any issues. Option should be the same size as T. Well, yeah, probably, but then you still have one more bit for variant tracking and less opportunities for layout optimizations further up. Like, for example, this whole thing right now, I'm not entirely sure how many like unused bits, so to say, vec has, like bit values that can never be that can only always be one value, the kind of stuff, niches as they are called, I think, that Rust uses to optimize these things to optimize out storage for enum tags. Not sure how many of those are there are. Potentially val or vec for like doesn't actually need to store a tag now, but would have to if would get larger with option here. I'm not entirely sure, but I kind of like this use of unsafe because it is verifiable. I might change it out later. I will, if I keep it, I will definitely test it with Miri. Okay, so I have 5 more minutes before I need to take a break or possibly end the stream altogether. Let's see. So all of these. Bool, I everything, you everything. Huh, interesting. The 128-bit integers are not mentioned here. And I'm guessing they are not mentioned anywhere here either. Yeah, because they do have a default implementation, so I'm gonna leave them out here as well. F32 and 646 are forwarded to part. And expected unit type. What? Did I do the wrong thing in that macro? Oh, that's not correct. This looks better. Oh yeah, I wanted to find out map access. Was it this trait? No. The error custom. It's maybe the wrong thing. Like what's value error? How can I construct one? Well, not in any obvious way. So I guess I need to use one of these methods. So invalid type, yeah, okay, that's what is used. What should probably be used here, because we want an error message like expected whatever got a list. I'm just gonna have a custom error message for now, just to get everything to compile, hopefully. Okay. And now there's a few more. There's option that deserialize option that part handles. There's enum. There's new type struct, and that's it. Not gonna think too much about why that's the case. Okay, deserialize. Oh, okay. So deserialize enum has to be forwarded manually because it has more, and deserialize new type struct has to as well. So do something like this for here and here. Except we really want an error in the case we get a vector, and do deserialize enum, deserialize new type struct name visitor, name variance visitor. Oh. Okay. New struct, deserialize new struct failed? Did I? Huh. What? Oh wait, deserialize. What are these tests? Deserialize unit enum fails is probably the more interesting one. Unit is not in here. It forwards to any. I mean, I don't have a reason really to forward anything to this any. Except, yeah, no. I shouldn't do that. Shouldn't use forward to deserialize any at all here. I should be forwarding everything to part. And of course, some of these don't work. Not all trade. Implement expected identifier found struct. God damn it. Oh, okay. I need to pause the stream now. I will be back, I think, maybe in like 15 minutes or something. Okay, I'm back. There's still people in the stream. Not whoa. Okay, so Twitch chat. The Twitch chat thing is very inconsistent with the view count under the video. One says there's 2 people watching and the other one lists like a bunch of people in the chat. Whatever that means. But yeah, I was about to forward stuff to the part deserializer implementation. Struct was one that doesn't work like the other ones. Name fields, visitor, yeah, okay. So pretty much like this, but with fields. What else? Tuple struct map identifier. Why ignored any? Hint that the deserialized type needs to deserialize a value whose type doesn't matter. Okay. Seems like something I should still forward though. What's it look like? Okay, so this should work through the macro. Oh. Struct map identify ignored any. I thought ignored deserialize ignored any identifier map and what else? Unit struct has 2 parameters, but the declaration has 3. Okay. Oh wait, map can just be forwarded or like this? Should probably reorder them later. Tuple has 2 elements, but okay. Tuple also doesn't work, that makes sense. Okay, wait a second. Yeah. Handyvertrag? O2 Handyvertrag? Ordner? Okay, that's sorted as well. Deserialize tuple. This should soon work. And deserialize identifier. Which is just a visitor, so it should be possible. Okay, that looks much better. Oh, yeah, tuple. And why is the type ident needed? It's not even used? What? So there's no reason to do it like that, really. Okay. So I only expect one test to fail. God damn it. Okay, deserialize unit enum failed. Oh, okay. It's just the order that changed. Ah, right, because I'm using a B-tree map, and the B-tree map does iteration in order. In whatever order the type does, and the word 3 lexicographically comes before 2. Okay. So what I really should be testing is let result equals this. I guess now unwrap makes sense. Yeah, should be fine. And then we just assert result len equals to assert result contains 1 to owned XA 3XC 3X BXC and another exclamation mark. And what's the issue with this? Type annotation needed. Okay. We want a vec of string x doesn't work. Maybe, yeah. Okay. And the only test that should fail fails exactly like I wanted it to at that last to do. Okay, I'll need to pause the stream again for just 1 minute, sorry. Okay. Last to do. So if the deserialize implementation expects a sequence. Ah, right, this was where I wanted to use the, where is it? Not anywhere here. Seek deserializer. And how do I use it? How is the map deserializer used? I think by just calling in a visitor visit map self in a, okay, so should be visitor dot visit sequence seek deserializer new self. Doesn't work because visitor is not in scope. Okay, just to be sure, visit sequence expects a sequence access. Yeah, okay. So now this needs to be done. We need to be able to iterate over these values. I wonder whether I can... yeah, no. I don't think I can do much using the into iter as slice. Like creating one always means having an allocation, so I probably just have into iter here, create a local enum into iter. Which is again either value, which is now option, which implements iterator, I think. Like what does the into iterator implementation here look like? It's probably just gonna oh no, there's a separate option into iter? Why though? Like shouldn't it item? Okay. I would have expected option to just implement iterator directly. I think that should be possible. I'm not sure what this item thing is about. Well, okay, it just contains an option again. Yeah, this could just be implemented for option directly. Weird, but okay, so that's gonna be option into iter t or back into iter t. And this is also generic. Fn into iter new self. So Why does this not work? Oh, okay. So some. Actually, what does iter1 return? It probably returns this type, so let's use that instead. That's a bit clearer. And this needs to be capitalized, and I think we might be done. Nope. This still doesn't work. Into deserializer is not implemented for T. Okay, it sounds like I just need another bound somewhere here. Required because of the requirements of input on seek access for deserializer. Okay.